Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg podcast. I'm Rose, and I'm a content creator going by the handle Cheap Lazy Vegan, and I also own a vegan cafe by the same name as the podcast, which is SaVeg Cafe.
And I'm Daniel, also a vegan, and one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends currently living in different countries, and we'll be giving our savage take on all things life, veganism, and the latest trending topics.
So basically, whatever comes to our minds, because we love to talk.
You are currently listening to the previous episode of this podcast, but if you would like to listen to this week's episode and get some exclusive content, go over to patreon.com/thesavagepodcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the SaVeg podcast.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. Daniel, why is your mic so far away from your face today?
I don't know. I'm going to bring it closer. Because I was trying to do a similar setup to what you had, but until I have a proper desk and an actual real house that's not falling apart, then I'll have to just hold it with my hand, and people are just going to have to get used to it.
Where are you sitting right now?
What's that?
Where are you sitting right now?
I'm on my bed, which is a mattress on a thing on the floor, and I have this set up on a coffee table. Seriously, this setup is ridiculous. But it's the only way that works, because if I go out of this room, the internet is really, really bad. So I have to be here.
Would you like to tell the audience about your shower situation today?
So for those of you watching the video, you'll notice that my hair is a little bit it looks like I've just done a workout or something. It's a bit wet. The reason being is I was trying to get showered before this podcast and get ready and shave and, look presentable. But I have my hot water heater was off, so I had to try to turn it on. Now, it's like a weird machine that you have to flick with your arm to the side like this while pumping a button. Then you have to get a match while you're doing this and stick the match in and try to light a flame. So it took me about half an hour of struggling before I had to go talk to one of my flatmates, and I was like, can you please help me with this? I cannot get this thing to work. So I wasted a ton of time, and Rose be running a tight ship here and expected me to be on this call exactly at the correct time. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I didn't know that you were, you had to light a fire to take a shower. So.
Literally, this is my situation right now. I'm actually so excited to get back to Canada. Honestly, it's gonna be a. But
moment. Isn't it kind of nice, these old school things? Well, maybe not this experience.
You know what it does though? It does make me appreciate not having to light a flame to have hot water for my shower. So we always talk about appreciation and growing, and
it keeps you humble.
Exactly. So that was my little experience, and hence why I have wet hair and haven't shaved because I just ran out of time. So that's why I look the way I do. God damn.
I've never heard of a shower where you have to turn on a flame.
I know. Because I think typically
usually it's a switch, no?
No. It's it's like a little machine that it's like a, one of those gas stoves that you have to turn on a knob and then light to catch to flame. It's the same thing, but the hot water heater.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and you can leave it on, you can leave the flame going, but for whatever reason, some of the flatmates, they shut it off because it wastes gas and everything if you just leave it on. So, because anyway. So that was my
it makes
fun
me
experience.
Appreciate.
Yeah.
I feel like we're definitely spoiled in Canada.
Oh, 100%.
We don't even have to turn anything on. We just go straight into the hot shower.
That's very true. One thing that I do love here, though, and actually I had this in London as well, in my old flat, is which I don't think they're as popular in Canada, is gas stoves. I absolutely love cooking on a flame. It's the best thing ever. It's so much better than the little flat tops or any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I feel like most of the houses my parents and I have lived in, and any of my friends in Canada, most of them have the flat tops and not the actual but the flames are amazing. They're so good.
I feel like they would be more dangerous.
Probably. They probably are.
But yes, I understand the satisfaction of the flame. There's a satisfactory element.
100%. But also, I feel like you can control it better as well. With those ones, the flat tops, you turn it up. It takes a little bit of time to heat up, and then if you turn it down, it takes a little bit of time to kind of cool down. It takes time to fluctuate between different temperatures. Yeah. Whereas the flame is instant. You turn it on, you put the thing on, and the water boils so fast, and everything cooks faster. And I don't know, it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, so. But I remember because anytime I go somewhere else to a different country, and I have to deal with these like different
appliances.
How do I say appliances?
Yeah.
Yes, and you're right. You know when you have to turn on the stove, but you have to use like a lighter.
Yeah.
Those things freaked me out so much because I never knew how to do it. And I was always just like so stressed out about it. And in the beginning, I just didn't even know how to use it. I was like, how do I turn this on? Why is this not turning on?
Yeah.
And then someone had to show me. And I was like, wow, never seen that before.
True. But you get
do you have to use a lighter to light up your stove?
Yeah. So the stove, you turn it on, and then you have to use like a lighter. But I'm so used to it now, like it's like really, really easy. And we have one of those long lighters that you pull the thing, and it has like a long nozzle that like lights it. So
I see. Okay.
But there are ones, I know that there's gas stoves, like more newer gas stoves, where actually when you turn on the gas, it automatically sparks, so it lights itself.
Yeah.
So I think those ones are really, really nice, but I think they're probably super expensive. Who knows?
Interesting.
Yeah. God.
Anyway,
damn.
so that was a nice little discussion about appliances and the differences between appliances around the world.
Yeah.
So today, guys, we are going to be, we're just going to chat mainly. You know, it's going to be kind of casual, but we wanted to talk about some crazy conspiracy theories surrounding COVID-19.
Yes.
So since that's pretty much what is on everyone's mind at this moment.
Yes.
We're going to chat about some conspiracy theories and also some more Covidiots, perhaps.
Yeah.
Because I've been reading up on a lot of those things.
Oh, God
the
damn.
Covidiots.
The Covidiots is a thing. I think this is a new word that needs to be like in the dictionary now, a Covidiot. Like it needs to, well, I think it's already happening, you know? It's like everyone's just using it now. But quickly before we digress into that wonderful topic, Rose, should we tell our listeners about our exciting, not announcement, but one of the things that we want to do with the podcast not the full, what am I trying to say? Like one of our ideas of future episodes for the podcast. So
yes.
Shall I introduce that?
Yes,
basically,
you can introduce that.
Okay. So one of the ideas that we have, which we thought would be kind of fun, is maybe, again, we're still working out some of the exact, how this is going to work, but potentially once a month, we're going to do an episode, which is like basically an opportunity for you guys to hang out with us, and we will discuss a question or like not a story, but like a question or a life situation that somebody's in that they can anonymously submit to us. And we will discuss it as, you know, how we would discuss a situation that came up in our lives, if that makes sense. I'm not doing a good job here, am I? Can you paraphrase it, Rose?
You have a way with words, Daniel.
Oh, God damn.
You like to use a lot of them. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, my God. The savagery, okay? We did say this is the savage hour, and Rose is taking full advantage of that.
This is savage hour, apparently. Okay, so, no, I think you got the point across.
Yeah.
So basically, we would like you, if you are interested, obviously, our listeners, to send us questions, submit questions or concerns that you have, any sort of life situation that you want us to discuss. We're not going to say anyone's name, obviously. We're not going to reveal anyone's identity, but I feel like it would be something fun to do.
Yeah.
It'd be like advice hour from non-professionals. Exactly.
Well, this is the thing I was going to say. We'll put a caveat on it in a sense that obviously we're not, you know, qualified professionals, psychiatrists, anything like this. But basically we want it to kind of be like looking at you having a discussion with your friends, and in an extension of your friends, it's me and Rose. And basically how we would, you know, if I was facing a problem, what I would do with Rose, for example, I'd be like, oh, you know, my boyfriend, the way my boyfriend makes the kitchen a mess, it's driving me crazy. What do I do? Then I would sit down with Rose, have a discussion. So we want you guys to do the same kind of thing with us. And submit those kind of questions or issues that you might be facing. And then, we will discuss them on the podcast. Again, anonymously, don't worry. And just
you can send it. I think they can just email us. So they can email us with a subject line, which... We should call this something. We should call this like a certain segment.
The Rose and Daniel hour or something. Or
no, that's lame. I'm
just kidding. Oh God, so mean. I was thinking, what about? No, because we remember we wanted to do an Off the Edge series.
But it's not really off the edge, is it?
No, true. That's right.
Okay. We'll just just email us, thesavagepodcast@gmail.com, and you can put subject line advice or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you follow us on Instagram, you could always send us a private message as well and just say, this is my particular question or discussion. And obviously, those patrons that are listening, they would have first dibs, or first kind of like, we would take those questions and issues first, and then
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm like really failing today. I don't
Daniel's
know
at a loss for words.
Which doesn't happen very often, does it, Rose?
Not at a loss for words, but just loss for proper words.
Verbal diarrhea.
I'm just kidding, guys. Okay. I know I abuse Daniel on a regular basis. No, it's all in good fun, people. Okay. Don't come after me.
Yeah. And
Daniel's the angel and I'm the devil, as we all know.
Oh my God. So not true. And then we did have one other announcement as well. Well, not an announcement, but we're going to do an upcoming episode. We haven't recorded it yet, but it's going to be coming in the future on a very interesting book, which I've been listening to, an audiobook called Modern Love by Aziz Ansari.
Yes.
And we have a link basically for an Audible trial, which you can get a free book. So you could download the book and listen to it prior to us. The audiobook? Yeah, the audiobook, sorry. Download the audiobook and listen to it prior to us discussing the topic. So...
Yes. So we are now Audible affiliates, meaning that we get a little commission if you do get the free trial yourself. Yeah. It's a free trial, so you don't pay anything. You just get a free book. And if you want, you can cancel your membership after you download the free book. So you basically get a free audiobook.
Exactly.
So yeah, that link will be in our show notes or in the description box.
Yeah.
So it's audibletrial.com/thesavagepodcast. And of course, you can download whatever audiobook that you want. But if you want to kind of follow along with us and discuss the audiobook with us, then make sure you download Modern Love by Aziz Ansari.
Yeah. And let me tell you guys, I'm almost done and it is very good. And I'm actually really looking forward to our podcast episode on it because there are so many things I want to talk about. Like, oh my God. But anyway.
Oh shit. I hope you've been taking notes, Daniels.
Oh gosh darn it. I haven't, but maybe I will.
God damn, you still haven't finished. I finished that a long time ago. God damn, you got so much to do, Daniels?
I'll be busy as hell, okay?
You got so much to do with nothing.
Anyway, so those are the announcements for today, guys.
Yes.
So shall we crack right into the Covidiots, conspiracy theories, more fun stuff that's coming out of this?
It's not even fun because it's actually quite, if you take it seriously, it's quite scary that people are this dumb and this... they believe so much in these conspiracy theories.
You know what I'm thinking?
But, yeah.
I was going to say, you know what I think why this is even happening? I think that because everyone is in lockdown, people are actually starting to go crazy, right? So like, as you're in, like, you know how they say when they have like prisoners and stuff and they put them in that, let's say they have bad behavior and they put them in isolation in that like locked room.
Yeah.
And after like a month or whatever, they start going crazy. I think this is what's happening to the world. So we're all in isolation. Now we're going crazy.
But you're pretending like the world isn't crazy when we're not in isolation, which isn't true.
That's true. But I feel like
let's be completely honest.
Yeah, true. Okay, well...
But I want to hear, the thing is, I don't actually know much about these conspiracy theories. So I told Daniel to do the research because Daniel has so many things on his agenda. So
I be doing lots.
But I have heard about like some of these conspiracy theories, some people thinking that this is a government hoax or whatever it is, which makes no sense to me, but I would like to hear what it is. We are definitely not promoting, by the way, these conspiracy theories. We're probably going to talk about how ridiculous they are. So let's get started.
Exactly. This is very much a ridicule anti-conspiracy theory. So let's take all of these with a pinch of salt. Let's have a good laugh today, guys. And let's go through and look at some of these lovely conspiracy theories. So the first one on our agenda, which is again, oh my God, seriously. Okay, so the title of this article is the virus, the pandemic, was fabricated to cover up global outbreak of 5G syndrome. So, basically the basis of this whole argument. So the main premise here is that, you know how a lot of phone companies and stuff are starting to roll out 5G networks, right? Now, the argument here is that 5G we already know that cell phones cause, some problems because of the radiation and everything, right? But I guess 5G was, they suspected that it caused more issues with people, from headaches and all this other stuff. So they predicted that because Wuhan was like a big area that was rolling out 5G, to cover the symptoms of that people that were getting sick, they decided to release the COVID-19 on these people. So they would get sick with COVID-19 or with 5G syndrome. I say this with quotations. And they wouldn't know the difference. So they wouldn't blame it on 5G.
But they still got...
But they still get sick.
That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because they still got blamed for coronavirus. So what's the difference between being blamed for 5G syndrome and being blamed for COVID-19? I almost feel like COVID-19 is worse to be blamed for that, because a lot of negligence happened. And as a result of a lot of negligence, because they think that a lot of this came from the wet markets, right?
Yeah. Well, this is just it. It's like the whole foundation of this. And this is actually this whole conspiracy about it covering up the 5G syndrome, the symptoms we get from 5G or whatever, or potential. Like, it actually took off. Like, a lot of people were like apparently retweeting it and all this stuff. And again, like, you make a really good point, Rose. Like, why is that any better to release a pandemic and say, 5G is okay, but now we have coronavirus? Like, it just...
And is there even proof that, did they do any studies that 5G is, causing health problems?
No.
Or is that also a conspiracy?
This is... Oh God, well, you just wait till we get down this conspiracy train, because it's like, there are some crazy things. And this is the thing that pisses me off about conspiracies, because like, don't get me wrong, there are crazy stuff that happens, and there's corruption and all this kind of stuff. And there are some legitimate, like, kind of conspiracy theories, right? But when you start just like pulling random facts out of the air with no kind of like sustenance and no evidence, and just like making random claims, like they shouldn't even be allowed to do this. So I'm reading this article here, and this article is like debunking as to why this isn't true. And, they're saying that apparently there's little reason to think that 5G frequencies are any more harmful than any other type of electromagnetic radiation. So there was no particular studies that say that 5G, there's no evidence to prove that the 5G radiation is any worse or better for you than 4G. So already right there, that just proves this whole conspiracy wrong,
Yeah. And yet people just want to believe it.
I know. Well, this is it. I think
this is crazy.
Again, it is very, very crazy. Like, I just, I don't know.
It's fake news. News.
It is fake news. So again, with these like conspiracy theories, it's so important to do like your fact checking and, God. But
Let's go down this rabbit hole, Daniel. Give me another one.
Okay. The next one, and this one's a long one, so this is going to take a little bit of time because there's multiple elements of it, okay? So I'm going to read you the title, then I want your thoughts, and then we're going to delve into it, okay?
Okay.
So I love the quote from this particular article. So there's a bizarre conspiracy theory that puts Bill Gates at the center of the coronavirus. What are your initial thoughts?
I've seen similar titles to that, and I've heard about it, but I haven't actually read into it because it already sounded ridiculous.
I know.
Because I know that Bill Gates was always talking about pandemics and how we need to be prepared for the next pandemic.
Yeah.
So he has been very vocal about that since way before this happened. So I already kind of knew that this was all just a conspiracy. So I didn't look into it. So tell me what it is, because I have no idea how Bill Gates could be involved.
Well, the thing is, the more I read about this, the more I read about this particular theory, it was just like, again, it's almost like they've taken things that, how am I trying to say this? Like, the reason that they're blaming Bill Gates is they're saying that, for example, they said that he has investments, or he's basically, him and his Gates Foundation has pledged a lot of money to like research and pharmaceutical companies into coming up with vaccines and stuff. And the whole argument is saying that he's invested in these companies, so it's in his best interest for an outbreak to happen. So because of his investments, that if one of his companies that he's invested in comes up with the vaccine first, then he has a lot to financially gain. But at the same time, like you said before, he has been an advocate for preparing globally. He doesn't ever has he said he wants a global pandemic. Well, not that anyone would vocally say that, but all of his actions have proved against wanting this to happen. Like the fact that he gave a TED talk way back in I think it was 2014 or 15 when he was like, this is the direction that we're headed. We need to prepare for this. Mm-hmm. And then his foundation is investing into companies that are helping us get vaccines and everything else. So
yeah. And I know that Bill Gates is obviously so fucking rich.
Yeah.
But isn't the foundation technically a nonprofit foundation, and doesn't he just keep putting money toward research and I feel like he's already fucking rich enough. I don't know. I don't think you need a pandemic. This is Again, no proof whatsoever.
Exactly. This is all just kind of like made up stuff. Like it's just people just like, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy.
So then how did he start this pandemic?
But this is it. Like how did he start it? No one knows.
Yeah. He created the virus in a lab. That's another thing, hey?
Yeah. Like this is like a direct quote from this particular article. And it was saying the conspiracy theorist connecting Gates to coronavirus stated in late January, according to a recent New York Times investigation with a YouTube personality linked to QAnon, who claimed Gates had prior knowledge of the coronavirus pandemic.
He had prior knowledge that a pandemic would start.
Exactly.
I know that.
But
everyone knew.
Did.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't know anything, but the experts knew that a pandemic would start. They just didn't know when. So maybe that's what he means by prior knowledge.
Exactly. Well, and this is the thing is, sorry, when I meant we all knew, I meant that, like, look at all those documentaries on Netflix and stuff. Like, not all of us, but people knew that this is the direction that the world is heading. Yeah. So it's not like
the people that have knowledge of this stuff knew that it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Which is so frustrating.
Yeah. And then there was another to kind of go, again, I don't understand. Like, the more I look into this, the more I'm just like, okay, another claim about why Bill Gates is part of this whole conspiracy of this. This writer, days later, website Infowars, a site run by Alex Jones, a conspiracy theorist.
Fucking Alex, is that the fucking annoying guy that screams?
I'm not sure.
Or is he not? Be. Continue.
He published a piece that incorrectly, so already he's publishing things that aren't right, that incorrectly stated that the Gates Foundation co-hosted a pandemic exercise in late 2019 that simulated a global coronavirus outbreak. So two things wrong here. One, incorrectly stating this, but number two, if they did co-host a pandemic exercise, basically what they would be trying to do is prepare people for if this was to happen. Why does that mean that you're going to launch a, virus on the world,
Oh my God. This Alex Jones guy, yes, it is the fucking guy that yells at the camera. He's like this crazy... okay, so this is the definition of him.
Okay.
Alex Jones is a far-right American radio show host and conspiracy theorist.
Oh, God.
So he's definitely not someone to be trusted. He sells shit, and I know for a fact that he's been trying to sell shit to convince people that it's going to help them against the COVID-19. He's one of those sick fucks that basically doesn't have any, any empathy or ethics. So he just makes shit up, and I can't believe he's followed by a lot of people. A lot of people watch him and listen to him, and it's crazy. Anyways, continue.
Okay. So there's even more to this whole Bill Gates thing. So not only are they okay, so he's unleashed this pandemic against the world, which is, again, it's just, there's no logic.
What a power to have, Yeah. Imagine if you had this power to do that.
Exactly. Well, and the thing that, again, even just discussing this theory, at least... if somebody presents a theory, be it a hypothesis or whatever, it has to have some kind of logical links, It can't just be this person did this and that means that it's related to this when it's not. But anyway, the next thing, and this is when it gets even crazier, okay? You thought it was crazy then. So
oh, God.
There's also, and it's this Alex Jones, okay? Honestly, I see him everywhere in this article. So now they're saying...
God. Of course you do.
They don't want to... basically, because you know how Bill Gates' foundation is helping to come up with a vaccine, basically. Now people are thinking that there's a conspiracy that these vaccines, I can't even believe this. These vaccines might have digital chips in them so that when people get vaccinated, they're going to get implanted digital. And this is a direct quote, digitally tracking Americans' every move has been a dream of the globalists for years. This health crisis is the perfect vehicle for them to push this.
He's saying that Bill Gates is doing this, essentially.
Yeah. And then, and that basically the people that are going to get vaccinated are, in theory, the conspiracy is that they're going to get implanted with some kind of chip.
Oh my God, this is so fucked. Because if people, like, the thing is, we can laugh about it and we think it's funny that people are actually saying this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But imagine if people actually took this kind of stuff seriously and thought that they were going to be digitally chipped if they got a vaccine. How many people are not going to, there's already crazy people that are completely against vaccines,
Exactly.
which is already a danger to society. But then, like, how many people are going to not want to get a vaccine because of hearing some crazy dude talking about some kind of fucking conspiracy theory with absolutely no fucking evidence?
Exactly. I mean, it's just crazy.
How does this guy have a platform?
I don't know, honestly. And the thing is, again, like, just picking apart all the pieces of this, there's no evidence. There's nothing here.
Not even like an ounce. Not even like a tiny fucking amount.
Exactly. Because you look at like some big scandals that have happened globally and stuff and like certain things. And if you can prove stuff and there's like some causal links, okay, then it can form a basis of a kind of conspiracy theory, right? But again, if you're just pulling this shit out of a fucking storm, thin air, and just being like, whoa, this is what's going to happen. My friend actually sent me a video. It was like it also had these theories in there. It was like a 45-minute long video, and it had
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did watch it. Yeah. But again, all of the claims and basis for these accusations were like they seem to be pulled out of thin air. And one of them was so sorry, that's the end of the Bill Gates one. So it's just that he wanted the virus because he wanted to implant us all with chips, and I don't know.
Great. Love it.
So that's that one.
Damn. Okay, give me the next one.
Okay. So the next one, basically, so you know how there's been obviously a lot of drama and things going on between China and the recent, like with everything that's going on with Hong Kong. I don't know the whole story, but again, there's been a lot of like protesting and a lot of things going on. Because I think China's reclaimed Hong Kong or something like this. I'm not...
Yeah, I think there was some kind of clause that they signed back in the day where it said that at a certain time, I guess now, that China would, China would control Hong Kong again or something. So Hong Kong would go under Chinese rule. Again, I'm just kind of going off what I think I know.
Yeah.
So something about how Hong Kong would now go into Chinese rule, which would be quite devastating because Hong Kong is pretty democratic, I think. So they have a very different kind of viewpoint to China. So a lot of people in Hong Kong do not want to be under Chinese rule. Yeah. So I think that's partially what it was. But anyways, continue.
Yeah. So the theory here is that China, pissed off with the Hong Kong protests, decided in order to control the protest, they wanted everyone in lockdown. So in Hong Kong, in China, they just basically wanted everyone in lockdown. So their solution, according to this particular conspiracy theory, was to unleash the coronavirus and to control the Hong Kong protesters.
I mean, to be fair, that probably sounds, out of all the things that we've talked about, that sounds the most potential,
the most logical, but at the same time,
but literally no evidence. And the Hong Kong protests were much worse before, I think. Yeah. So I feel like they were kind of calming down
before this all happened anyway. Yeah.
So so I think it was quite bad, like a few months before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I don't know, don't think so.
Yeah, I know. It's just kind of like, okay, so because we don't want this protest going on, we're going to cause our whole country to go through this frickin' virus.
Exactly. And imagine the economic impact. So I don't think that they would want to release. Here's the thing. A lot of people are like, governments are responsible. I'm like, why would any government want the economy to crash like this? Like no government is wanting this to happen because of the economy. Every economy is suffering right now.
Because if you think about it, like when it comes down to it, obviously governments, depending on the countries, but like the government is there to run that country and that costs money. Where do governments get their money? Generally from taxpayers' dollars. So if the economy in that particular country is severely suffering, there's going to be less people working and paying taxes, less businesses paying taxes. Therefore, the government will have less money to spend and do whatever else with. So again, I think with a lot of this stuff, we just have to take a step back and think logically about this. Yeah. And it's like, there's no real reason as to why a government would want a pandemic like this where their economy shut down. Like it just doesn't make sense. So that was one. That was another one. Another
and they're
one.
going to be using, and when we have a pandemic, the government uses resources, like the government resources to deal with the pandemic.
Exactly.
I mean,
like,
so
where does everyone think all these
sense.
government? Exactly. Where does everyone think all these government handouts are coming from? You know, like the fact that governments are paying money out, and a lot of the governments, they may not have the reserves to back this up, but they have to do something. Yeah. So they're going to have to borrow money from who knows where.
We're all screwed. So it makes no sense that governments would want this. As much as I'm not saying go and trust the government, but it makes no sense for them to do this because there's no gain from doing this.
Well, and that brings us to our next conspiracy theory.
Oh God.
I mean, these are just, I feel like there needs to be some kind of like...
regulation?
Yes.
I know, it's crazy.
People will buy into this, honestly. Like
100%. This is the problem with the internet. As much as I love internet, and I think there's a lot of good that can come out of it.
Definitely.
But the problem is that basically anyone and everyone can use the internet and spread misinformation, false information. Slander. And this is a huge problem. Huge problem. This is why even in the recent years, the whole flat earth movement, which basically didn't exist before internet, is now like relatively large compared to what it should be, which should be zero.
Exactly.
Well, there are quite a few people that believe in this shit because of the internet and people spreading misinformation, false information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It blows my mind because it's like, I mean... I know we're digressing a little bit, but this whole flat earth conspiracy theory or whatever we want to call it, like we know that this isn't the case. We have seen the earth from space. We know
they think that's
round.
A conspiracy. See, they think that's a conspiracy.
Oh my God.
They think NASA is fake. They think NASA is faking the images.
Okay.
And I can't remember exactly what all the theories were.
Yeah.
But there's the documentary on Netflix. You should totally watch it. It's like so entertaining, but also I feel kind of bad for these people. So usually what happens is that, sorry, I know we're kind of going off topic, but usually what happens with these kind of people that believe in these alternative theories is that they basically just want to belong to a group. They want to feel like they belong somewhere. So it's kind of like culty the way that they do it. So it's not just people thinking, oh yes, the earth is flat. It's like they have conventions and they meet up and they, they talk amongst each other. They think of themselves as a community. So I think a lot of people, they feel a little bit rejected maybe by modern society and they don't really feel like they belong. So then they kind of found a little group, which is kind of sad, but also like, we need to stop doing this.
Yeah. Well, I could see that. You're right. I think a lot of people, you're right. When they form these kind of, are they called like fringe groups or something? Like the people that are kind of like,
maybe.
They think off to the completely different than everyone else.
Yeah.
And you're right. They kind of, maybe they're like relatively like outcasts of society, of general society, or they feel like they're an outcast and they found a little place to belong, which I think, that's great. But at the same time, by spreading this kind of certain conspiracies and things like this, it's so
crazy. The documentary though is so, I'm trying to think, I think it's called like Beyond the Curve or something. And it's so just crazy that people can buy into this. Like grown people are literally believing in this. And there's basically, and then there's a couple guys that are doing like scientific experiments to prove that the earth is flat. Okay. So first of all, someone commented being like, well, that's not how you do a scientific experiment. You don't come up with the conclusion first and then try to find evidence to back that conclusion. You have to do, maybe you have a hypothesis, but you have to be open to alternative conclusions if you are doing an actual scientific experiment. So they've already concluded that the earth is flat. So anything that shows otherwise, which obviously if you're trying to do things scientifically, they're going to get the answer that they don't want.
Exactly.
Then they think, oh, actually, we're going to get this machine because I don't think that this machine is giving us the right answer or something like that. I don't know. It is crazy. Highly recommend watching this. Let me actually find the title so I can tell our listeners, our lovely listeners, to watch it. and to not listen to these people that have absolutely no knowledge of this thing.
I know. It's just it's just crazy. And again, like, you're right. If you have a conspiracy theory...
Behind the curve. Behind the curve. Go watch it. Continue.
Okay. But I was going to say, if you have this theory or this hypothesis, it can be a conspiracy theory is also technically a hypothesis. You think there's a reason for something happening. And again, like you said, you have to test these hypotheses. You have to see if there's actual, what are they called? Causal links or links between the different elements. And if you don't get the answer that you want, you can't abandon the test and try a new one. You have to abandon the hypothesis and alter it and switch it to whatever the results happen to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Oh my God, there's this part at the end where they do this like one curvature test.
Yeah.
And basically they were like, oh yeah, so I guess one guy was standing like quite far away and they had like a laser beam thing. And they had I can't remember how they did it, but basically there was a laser beam that was pointing, and then on the other end of where they started the test, they have like a cardboard with like a hole in it or something. And they said if there's a curvature, I'm not explaining this properly, but basically their conclusion was that if there's a curvature, the light would
curve.
Not come through, or it would come through. You have to move the light in order for the light to come through. And then so basically the documentary ends with them just being proven wrong, essentially.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I'm not explaining it properly, but go watch it. It's quite crazy that this thing exists, and we have to laugh. Otherwise we'll cry.
I mean, it's a little bit of, I guess this sounds really mean, but it's a bit of entertainment. I mean, I look at like the recent documentary, The Tiger King, and I didn't realize the craziness that existed there. And let me tell you, my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, continue. Let's
so
go
the next
on
one, the next conspiracy theory on this little conspiracy train that we're now all aboard, is again, it's with China. A lot of these are with China, and I feel kind of bad, but you know how China's been having
to be fair, China's a bit shady. Chinese government is it's a little shady.
Yeah, true.
I know white people don't want to say it because they think they're going to sound racist.
Well, no, I wouldn't. I don't think that. I feel like not so much China as a country, but I do feel like this pandemic's already sparked enough unnecessary racism. Do you know what I mean? So like that's why I'm a bit hesitant.
Totally. Yeah.
But I mean, China's a country.
So we should definitely be careful about talking about it because it could spark unnecessary racism.
Yeah.
But I think we can criticize the government of China for being
definitely 100%.
A bit shady, to say the least.
That is very shady. So the argument here is that, you know, China was already in a trade war against the U.S., like a kind of, they were having some you know, not great relations. And the argument here is that China, that knew what they were doing and that they released the pandemic, and they already had controls in place internally so that their country could get back to work right away. Like not right away, but, you know, do a lockdown for a short period of time and then get back to work, while the rest of the countries like, you know, US, you know, a lot of the Western countries would really struggle controlling this pandemic that they were maybe not as prepared for. And then, you know, China's economy will continue to grow and blah, 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 blah. And that's, you know, and then that would impact greatly the US economy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
I know. Honestly, because
the only reason why China is prepared is because Asia has dealt with previous pandemics before, more so than North America or Europe. So that's why they're a little bit more prepared. And Asians already use masks. It's a very common thing in Asia to use masks, maybe because we're prepared. I'm saying we, like I live in Asia, but like because in Asia, because they've dealt with pandemics, they have no fear of using the masks. Whereas here, finally people are starting to wear masks. But before, if you wore a mask, you know, even me, when I see like other Asians wearing masks, I'm like, oh, like, is that necessary? But now this pandemic has completely changed people's mindset. So anyways.
Definitely. Well,
it makes no sense. And like the rest of the countries in Asia are also apparently well prepared for it because it's not just China that went back to work. So anyway, so fucking dumb.
I know. No, exactly. This is the thing that's crazy. Like, and another thing is, okay, let's just say that this was the case. If the rest of the world, because of how global economies are now, it's like one country doesn't self-operate, right? So China as a country does not self-operate. You know, no countries nowadays are I don't think there's any that are self-contained, you know?
North Korea, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, even there, they probably get some stuff from other countries. There'll be some 100%. Trade or something. Yeah.
100%.
So, And the fact is that China, for sure, is a very globalized country in many respects with business and trade and everything else. So, you know, if this theory was true and China did this, which they didn't, but and that they went back to work, well, a lot of the products and services that China, you know, creates and for the world are consumed in other countries. So if the other countries 100%. Are struggling and under lockdown, they're not going to be consuming Chinese goods or Chinese services. So that in turn is going to impact the Chinese economy. So again, this theory
makes
has
no sense.
Exactly. It has no
legitimacy.
Foundation. Yeah. No foundation.
Because you're right. Because think about how many things that we get from China. How much product does every country get from China? There's so much.
Exactly.
They're huge in manufacturing, and there's no way that they are not incredibly hurt by this.
100%.
So it makes absolutely no fucking sense.
Exactly. Because I remember when I was like a little kid, and I remember at one point I was like obsessed with the animals at the time, and I used to have all these little animal figurines, and on the bottom of them, literally, I think 99.9% of these animal figurines, and actually everything in my house, my you know, school supplies, everything you could imagine, made in China, made in China, made in China. So, and these are supplies, like these kind of things that we're not going to be buying at these times right now. Yeah. So you're right. They're going to be really negatively impacted. So the kind of last theory, which I don't know if it's really... Just basically, they were saying, again, the basis of this, because you know how there was like a big argument that the reason this all started was from somebody eating a bat or something like this?
Right.
So they were
saying... Which I think is false.
Exactly.
Is it false?
I don't know. Like apparently
they're still unsure what happened.
Exactly.
But I think they are saying that most likely it happened in the Wuhan wet market. Yeah. Because this could be a place they've warned us before that these wet markets are very dangerous when it comes to pandemics, especially because that specific one has a lot of exotic animals that you know we're not really used to. So the virus gets like maybe it came from a bat, not necessarily from someone eating a bat, but it could have come from a bat, they say.
Well, and the argument of this particular theory was that, and again, I don't really remember because it was like I heard it, so I don't remember the full basis. But basically, they said this type of virus to move from an animal to a human, it doesn't happen very easily. Like they're not easily transmitted from animal to human. So their argument was that it was engineered in Wuhan to be a biological in a lab as a bioweapon for future war. And that this is going to be something that, you know, that could be of potential like use in war in the future. And that, again, it had to be an engineered thing.
Why are people just bored? Like, do they just want to make shit up?
Well, I told you, like I said, everyone's locked in their house and they got nothing better to do than come up with these ridiculous theories. And
oh my God.
Yeah. It's just, it makes
it's so unhelpful.
Exactly. And it already we're kind of in this like global state of like uneasiness. No one's really that like excited to be doing these lockdowns and everything else. And, you know, everyone has their days, like you get ups and downs, and it's hard just being in your house all day. And then if you're easily influenced, or, you know, maybe you haven't done research or something like this, and you see all these theories, it could start unnecessary panic for some individuals. You know, people are already, you know, really feeling uneasy about all of this. And this is just going to cause more harm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. It's so, yeah. So guys, don't believe in some random conspiracy theories. They're not helpful. And I know that, of course, I'm not saying governments are to be trusted or that, you know, we are 100% like trusting of every government, because obviously that's not true. Exactly. But that doesn't mean that all these conspiracy theories are true at all.
Well, there's plenty of like, you make a really good point there, is that there's plenty of like things that go on in governments that is shady, that it shouldn't be going on, that is part of a kind of conspiracy theory in some regards. There's a lot of, you know, you've seen many situations with big companies, like, you know, where they were practicing very, very shady things. Look at the financial market crash and what all the, you know, investment banks and things were doing. And people knew about this at that time, you know, so in some ways that could be looked at as a conspiracy theory. And, you know, that has some meat to it, and some, not meat, but like, you know what I mean?
But that wouldn't be a conspiracy theory because there's actually evidence to back this up. right?
Oh, yeah. I
like
guess.
what happened in the financial markets and what happened in the banks, like that. These things actually happened.
Yeah.
So you can't look at. So it's not the same thing as a conspiracy theory. Whereas conspiracy theories, it's just like piecing together little bits of information that have nothing to do with each other and just making a conclusion based on no evidence.
So
that's
making
what
up
I
a
would
random.
see. Yeah. That's what I would think a conspiracy theory is.
Well, I thought it's
because it's a
theory.
conspiracy.
Yeah.
Because conspiracy, just by the definition of the word conspiracy, means it's just it's not a fact, right?
Yeah. Well, I thought as conspiracy is like people planning to do something. You know what I mean? Something like they're conspiring to do something negative. So when I think of conspiracy theory, I think it's like a theory that individuals are conspiring to do something negative. So that's why, for example, in all of these, like China's conspiring to release this pandemic for a better means. That's my thought. I could be wrong though. But
okay, let me look. Let me see the definition. You might be right. A conspiracy theory is an explanation of an event or situation that invokes a conspiracy by sinister and powerful actors, often political in motivation, when other explanations are more probable. The term, I think we're both right.
Yeah.
The term has a pejorative connotation, implying that the appeal to a conspiracy is based on prejudice or insufficient evidence.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're both kind
it's
of
a bit
right.
of both.
Yeah. So usually, it's based on very little evidence, and but it's usually to imply that, some kind of powerful being is like doing something that we don't know about.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So probably when, a conspiracy turns real, that's when it becomes a scandal, like the banking crisis, or there's been many, like huge companies. Like there was one in the States, I think there was one in Canada, like big companies where there was like illicit trading and internal trading and the company collapsed. So like Enron, I think was a big one. Northern Telecom.
Big one.
Yeah. So there's a few different ones where there was kind of, things that went on.
A lot of shady things happen behind the scenes. So I don't blame necessarily people for not trusting governments and, these situations. But at the same time, these are not helpful.
No. And I think, again, like just take a step back and really think about logically, does this make sense? There's probably some conspiracy theories, like I said, that, have some good things that actually make you question and think, oh, could this be real, But like these ones are, all of these ones so far for the coronavirus, like pretty much are like ridiculous.
Make no sense at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's crazy.
So those are the coronavirus conspiracy theories. Ooh.
Oh, goddamn.
Fascinating.
That'd be fascinating as all hell.
Goddamn. How long have we been talking, Daniels?
Let's take a look at the clock. 48 minutes.
Oh, goddamn. Well, shall we talk a little bit about the Covidiots?
I think so. I think, if you, let's talk about the Covidiots.
Let me think about the different Covidiots, because there's a lot. Well, have you heard about all the protests happening in the U.S.? Actually,
yes.
Apparently there's, I talked to my friend in Vancouver now, and there's a small protest there as well, but I don't think it's as big. But people are now protesting the lockdown and saying that they want to go back to work. They demand their freedom because this is America and the land of the free.
Well, there was like a whole like movement in America, wasn't it? Like hashtag you can't close America or something.
Oh God, probably. Okay, but to be fair, to my American friends, apparently the majority of Americans are not in this camp. So it's just a very loud, small group of people that are
a fringe group.
A fringe group, but they're getting a lot of media coverage, and because Fox News, which is apparently the largest cable news network. So like a lot of people watch Fox News, but they are kind of downplaying this virus. So it's the fact that this kind of stuff is being given a lot of coverage. And also we have the president downplaying it, and all these other people basically saying, so exactly. So that's the problem. So let's acknowledge that this is a smaller group of people, but they're almost blowing it up to make it seem like there's more people believing in this than there are. Even amongst Republicans, the majority of Republicans still think that the lockdown should be continued. So because a lot of these people doing these, protests are, I think most of them are Republican, to be fair, I think, but that doesn't represent the majority of Republicans, apparently. So anyways.
Exactly.
So people are gathering in large groups protesting, basically screaming. There's a video of a woman in a car and she has like a sign that says, oh my God, what did it say? I can't remember, like free, something about being free and land of the free, I think it said. And then there's a nurse that was standing in front of this car as a counter protest. And she's like yelling at this nurse being like, go to China if you want to live in a communist world. Go to China.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, this isn't communism. Like, this is a pandemic. Do people not understand this?
And the thing is that the thing that makes me like so frustrated, and we talked about this again before in our coronavirus episode, but the whole idea of this social isolation, this lockdown, from my understanding, is not necessarily like, it's about flattening the curve. That's the whole concept of this, right? So it's not saying that, we don't want anyone to get this virus, because these people are like, oh, I don't mind getting the virus, blah, 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 blah. That's fine. You probably will get the virus at some point, who knows? But the whole idea of this is to prevent prevent unnecessary deaths by making it so that the amount of people that get the virus is manageable by the hospitals at that time, and that we flatten it out. So instead of 100 people getting it all at once, have 10 people getting it every 2 days or something, so that the hospital can cope and have enough ventilators for those individuals, so that less people die, less people are impacted. Because the thing is like, with this, they said, like, I've heard stats that most people are probably going to get this at some point, But when we get it and the degree of symptoms and everything, that's something that, by flattening the curve can really help those that are vulnerable to have the potential to survive,
Exactly.
So these people that are like...
It's just so... And the irony of all of this, of these protests, is that the longer people disobey these social isolation rules and the longer people do not isolate and the more people protest, the harder it is going to be in the economy. The harder it is, like, in the long run. Yeah, maybe if you reopen America in the beginning, you might have a surge in, the economy or whatever. You might, see a little boost. But in the long run, if you have people getting infected, which they for sure will, because nothing's changed so far, the virus is still there.
Exactly.
So they for sure will get infected, and then they won't be able to work. So this is the ironic part, is that if we just fucking stay home and deal with the longer hair for a few more fucking weeks, people are complaining that they can't get a fucking haircut. Yeah. Okay. Just deal with it for a few weeks. And I get it. It's hard, but fuck, it's going to be so much worse later on down the line if everyone gets fucking sick. In the States alone, like now there's over 45,000. It's fucking crazy deaths. In a matter of like, I think I saw, end of February, like February 29th or something, was the first US death. Yeah. So within a matter of less than 2 months, we've seen over 45,000 deaths in the United States alone.
Which is crazy.
And that's after social distancing. That's after weeks of social distancing. People are still dying by the thousands.
Exactly.
And it's insanity. And then Dr. Phil, who, by the way, is another Covidiot. Did you see that, Daniel? Did you see Dr. Phil?
No.
Oh my God. I cannot even believe.
Phil?
So he wasn't on Dr. Phil, but he was on Fox News spreading, again, misinformation. He came on Fox News and he was like, well, we don't shut down the country for car accidents. There's over, 35,000 people dying a year from car accidents, and we don't shut the country down for that. There's going to be more economic repercussions as a result. There's going to be more people dying as a result of this shutdown than the virus itself. And I'm just like, are you fucking me right now?
Yeah.
I was so fucking annoyed. First of all, Dr. Phil, okay? Let me just tell you. First of all, Dr. Phil, I looked at the numbers. I looked at the fucking numbers, okay?
Oh.
So people dying a year from car accidents, I mean, which is still a lot, okay? To be fair, it's still a lot. Car accident deaths in USA, I think it was something about, about 38,000 people die a year in the USA from car accidents. We've had, again, over 45,000 people die in less than 2 months from the coronavirus after social distancing. And car accidents, by the way, Dr. Phil, are not an infectious disease.
Exactly.
It makes no sense. Like, I don't even...
I know.
This guy calls himself a fucking doctor. He's not even a fucking MD. He's not even a practicing fucking doctor.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, it's like this, So, with this whole protest thing as well, the US, like people, these small, again, fringe groups protesting and getting out there. So apparently a bunch of the protesters are also talking about how like America knows that this is all a hoax. And I'm like,
oh God,
how can you say that? I don't understand. Like
a hoax from what? Like
exactly.
What is the basis? This is the problem with these conspiracy theories. They are very dangerous because people believing in them are out there protesting, not wearing masks, like fucking standing very close to each other. And 100% there's going to be a surge in these places. And then what?
Yeah.
And then you're going to overwhelm the hospitals and you're going to give it to all these people that, you're going to go around and just spread it to people that were probably, following social distancing rules, but then they go to the grocery store one time and then somehow get this.
Well, and like the whole thing too is like, if you're overwhelming the hospitals, so there's going to be a couple of impacts that's going to happen is, well, one, more people are going to die because they're not going to get the help they need from the coronavirus. But then also, and I could put money on it that some of these protesters, if they like broke their leg, they would be the first people or person complaining if they went to the hospital and weren't able to get care because there wasn't enough nurses.
I saw someone complaining like that.
Yeah.
Someone was complaining about that and they were protesting. And I was like, do you not understand that you're literally going against what you're protesting about? Like the fact that you are out there, you are overwhelming the hospitals by doing this. Like, how are you... oh God, I actually can't.
No, I know. It's like ridiculous. And then on top of that... I
feel bad for people in the US because most people, again, like we said, don't believe in this shit. And most people are being responsible citizens, but then there's all these like small amounts of people that are large enough to actually create negative impacts in their country. Oh.
And this like, it's honestly, it's so crazy. And like, so there's that they'll, if they have to go to the hospital for something else, there's not going to be enough like nurses and doctors because they're going to be distracted or not distracted, but working on corona patients. But then also within the hospitals, nurses and doctors are also, some of them are going to get sick because they're in a high concentrated area, right? Like I've had one of my friends that's in London is a nurse, and one of her friends that she worked with in a different unit has died from coronavirus. So like it's impacting the nurses as well. So it's not some like made up thing where it's like, it's like, oh, please people. Like,
I just feel bad for these, healthcare workers that are working probably so much and they're like literally putting their lives at risk. And because some places, they don't even have enough masks for these healthcare people, which is insanity. Like these healthcare people do not have masks to protect themselves when they are dealing with patients with this virus. So it's already scary enough. And then we have these people protesting and yelling at nurses that are counter protesting. And I'm just like, are you insane? Like,
I know, it's just crazy.
It's so, it pisses me off so much.
And it's stuff that we don't need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is stuff we don't need in the world right now. What we need is more of those, like, that video that that really positive one about good things that are going to come out of this. That's what we need more of. Okay. We need some uplifting messages. We need some stuff to help us get through this time because again, it is a challenging time for us. We don't need this bullshit. Okay.
I know. Oh God. It's
no more
so
conspiracy theories, no more protests.
All these people that are like, oh, let's reopen the economy. A lot of the people that are coming on, like for example, Dr. Phil or whatever, this is a conspiracy, but I believe it. These people that have all these, how do I say it? Rich people. Okay. Fucking rich people that have all these stock portfolios. They're seeing their stocks plummet. They're seeing the economy go down. And why do you think they want the economy open so bad? It's because they don't want their stocks to plummet. Let's be fucking honest. Okay. Yeah. I think it's pretty fucking obvious. They're not the ones going out there and going back to work. They're probably staying safe in their goddamn mansions, and they want all their little minions, all their little workers to go and work and risk their lives so that their stock can go back up. It's fucking true. I believe it. 100% believe it.
This is #Rose's conspiracy theory.
I don't think it's a conspiracy theory.
No,
I've heard these people talk about this. Like there was this one guy, I don't know what he does and what he is, but he's very rich clearly. And he's talking about how like, we need, like, he said something crazy. Like there's some more things more important than living, like our futures. I'm like, that makes no fucking sense. First of all, what's more important than living? If you don't have a fucking future, what is more important than living? But what he's saying is there's some things more important than living for some people. So as long as his stock portfolio is okay, then it's fine for other people to go and risk their lives for this kind of shit.
Yeah. Well, there was
And the
also
irony is that it won't work. If you reopen the economy, it's going to crash again.
I know. It's just crazy. This is the whole thing. It's nuts.
I'm losing my shit. I'm losing my fucking shit. Anyways.
Oh, God damn.
It's the frustration. It's very frustrating.
It is. It's
and
like
this is going to slow shit down because the U.S. is a big place. And now, and it's Canada is very, we have a very close relation with the U.S.
Yeah.
So the longer they delay this, and I'm not saying Canada's perfect.
Impacted.
Yeah, the more we'll get impacted. But yeah, it's fucking crazy.
God damn. I mean, they did say like, whoa. And again, I don't think this is going to necessarily happen to the extreme, but like people are saying like, this might be a good opportunity for like they say redistribution of wealth and like whatever else, but like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Never going to happen in the U.S.
No.
Everyone hold on.
Thing.
Everyone hold on to their wealth. God damn.
Hold on to it, cling on to it, try to grow your stocks by sending people back to work. God damn.
Oh God. It's honestly crazy. It's seriously insane. It's insane. Yeah, I'm sure they've convinced themselves that this is not that big of a deal, which is what, I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. What are we going to do, Daniel? The world's coming to an end.
I don't know. I'm scared as hell already. This is like...
Good news is pollution is at an all-time low, I'm sure.
Yeah, true. It definitely would be. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm personally not freaked out, but like this is like the worst time to be moving back to Canada in a sense. I mean, to be fair, this is the worst time to really be moving anywhere in general. And I was like, oh, should I have stayed in London and kept my job? At least I would have maybe some security, but who knows? I might have been fired or laid off during this time,
Daniel, you can't think like this. You can't go back in time and,
I know.
Nobody knew this was going to happen.
True.
Nobody knew, like there's a lot of people that have, had travel plans and, weddings planned. Everything got canceled. I'm sure hindsight is 2020.
Yes.
If we knew this was going to happen, we would have done a lot of things differently.
Exactly.
So it sucks. But yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. Like if you stayed in London, who knows? Like you could have lost your job. We have no idea.
No, this is it. You don't know what's going to
happen. And how much is your rent in London? So think about that.
It was hella expensive.
Yeah, so you would have, you probably would have moved back anyways. I have one little other piece of news.
Okay.
Did you hear about the bird bikes? You know the bird bikes? They're like the scooters. I don't know if the UK has them, but they're basically like Lime bikes. You know the bikes where you can rent it out and you have like an app. It's like car to go.
Is it?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they have a bunch of them in Calgary where people are like riding those scooters.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And people got into a ton of accidents.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that company, Bird, they decided to lay off. I don't know when this happened, but my friend was telling me about this yesterday. But they decided to lay off 400 of their employees in a Zoom call in 2 minutes. They just had a little speech. They had someone say it. Nobody knows who this person was that was talking. And a lot of people think it's a pre-recorded speech. And they literally just had everyone on the call. No one could see each other or anything. No one knew who was on the call or not. And they basically just said, unfortunately, we have to let you go.
Oh my God.
I know. So now that went viral because obviously, what an awful way to lay off so many people.
Exactly. That's horrible.
Can you imagine? No one could ask any questions. No one could, talk to somebody, and they're all at home, probably already fucking miserable from this shit. And then they get a 2-minute call from their fucking company because their CEO or their executives could not be bothered to have a one-on-one, 10-minute chat even with these people individually.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's nuts.
So now everyone's like, boycott. I'm never going to ride these bird scooters ever again.
It's like, come on, like have some humanity. You know what I mean? Like if you do have to lay off these people, like, businesses are having to make these difficult decisions, but like, again, these are people, you know what I mean? Like you need to make the time and actually do it properly and have a chat with them. And like, like not just be like literally, what is it? Like vicious or, ruthless.
Don't
basically.
They have an HR team? It's just crazy.
Yeah. It's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah. And now their reputation is tarnished. So good job.
Exactly.
Didn't they think this was going to go viral? Like, come on.
It's so stupid. Where was their PR? Where was their HR? Where was the, you know
Literally.
what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's insanity. I get that it's awkward. Like, I get that it's like probably the worst thing that you want to do.
100%.
But you just made it 10 times worse by basically just laying everybody off in a 2-minute Zoom conversation.
Exactly. It's just nuts.
Anyways, that's another Covidiot for you.
God damn, there'd be so many more Covidiots. There'd be COVID's everything, you know?
What you be talking about, Daniels?
I don't know. God damn.
Anyways, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode.
It definitely does, I think. Well, not definitely, but like,
yes.
Yeah. Went through some conspiracies.
That was fun.
Yeah, went through some conspiracies, talked about some Covidiots. Yeah.
Yeah, make sure, guys, download that audiobook if you want to discuss it with us later. Again, the link is in the show notes. It's audibletrial.com/the SaVeg podcast. And you can get a free Audible trial and a free audiobook. And also, if you have any life issues that you want us to discuss anonymously, you can email us at the SaVegPodcast@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Rose. That was very lovely. And also, as always, subscribe or check out our YouTube channel, subscribe, comment, get involved, you know.
Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the SaVeg podcast.
There we go.
God damn.
Have a great week, guys. Don't be a Covidiot.
Don't be a Covidiot, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.